Hey guys, this is Frozen Thing Studios here, and welcome back to another movie review. So, Ant-Man the Wasp: Quantumania is out now, so it's time for me to talk about this franchise and review its previous installments leading up to it. I'm seeing Quantumania theaters this Saturday, and the reviews. Quantumania was my most anticipated MCU movie of the year for the longest time, so I'm definitely going in with high expectations. I know I love it. I don't care what the critics say. I hope it doesn't disappoint. I'm kind of sure it won't. I mean, you probably know my history with defending the MCU and stuff, but now we're going to be going back to a time when the MCU was actually loved, when people would praise the MCU. Well, actually, that was Ant-Man the Wasp time. I mean, we're going back to a time when Marvel has continuously surprised people with with movies that sound like a bad idea, but then when the actual movie comes out and they see the movie for themselves, they actually get surprised by it. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. A lot of people said, "Oh, this looks so weird," and this movie's gonna be bad. But then it became one of the most beloved MCU movies, and then Ant-Man. It's not very beloved, but yeah. So anyway, let's get this introduction going. Ant-Man came out in the year 2015 and is directed by Peyton Reed. Yeah, fun fact, Edgar Wright was supposed to direct this movie, but due to creative differences, he left the project and was replaced with Peyton Reed. And yeah, I think this movie would have been better if it was directed by Edgar Wright, to be honest. I mean, Edgar Wright is top 10 best directors of all time. How cool would that be if he directed it? The film stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Corey Stoll, Evangeline Lilly, Bonnie Cannavale, Judy Geer, Abby Ryder Forston, Michael Pena, and Anthony Mackie. And the film's also a story of a Scott Lang, who is a father to a daughter who truly loves her, and there's also a burglar who basically steals stuff from he's pretty much a man who's lost everything now after him after what he's done. He's lost his job, he because his company Baskin Robbins found out his true nature. By the way, speaking of that, oh, actually, you know what? I'll get to that later. Anyway, they find out his true nature. They know that uh, and even his wife and the wife's ex-boyfriend neglects him, and one day Scott and his crew plan a heist to steal money and fame from money and other stuff in his old house, but turns out it was actually a suit. Um, and it's not just some ordinary suit. It's actually the Ant-Man suit, which was set up by Hank Pym to make Scott the hero, the new Ant-Man, and basically the new Hank Pym. And he sent Scott on a mission to stop Darren Cross from taking over the Hank Pym industry, his tech, stealing his tech and copying it, and taking over the world. So yes, like what I said earlier in the intro, yes, this was a part of the MCU era where people pretty much were not excited for it. Yes, they were excited for films like Captain America: The Winter Soldier and Avengers: Age of Ultron, but films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man the Wasp, people would react to like, what on earth is this? What is this? Yeah, they would just doubt this movie and think it's one of the worst MCU movies, but somehow the MCU keeps like still like tries and surprises everyone. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy like literally surprised, like shocked the world by how amazing it was, and still to this day is often regarded as one of the best MCU movies. Well, not sure if I would put it in my top 10 MCU movies, but that Guardians of the Galaxy, I'll talk more about it when I review these films leading up to Guardians 3. Um, Ant-Man is another film that people were not excited for. When I excited for, but when I saw the movie, they actually thought it was pretty solid. They had fun with it. Personally, I was actually more excited for Ant-Man than Guardians of the Galaxy because, I mean, Ant-Man didn't really bother me a lot. I mean, I really liked the trailer. Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, I don't know about this. This doesn't look like my thing. But then I saw the movie, and that one blew me away. Guardians ended up being the better movie, obviously, but I really enjoyed Ant Man. I was always excited for it when everyone else doubted it. But yeah, I rewatched Ant Man a few times, and now I rewatched it again earlier to get this review out of the way. So yeah, Ant Man is a great film. I think this movie still holds up, and this movie is often regarded as the best Ant Man movie. Ant Man and the Wasp has a higher Rotten Tomatoes score, but that film is really divisive and has a lot of hate. Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania has a upsetting Rotten Tomatoes score. I don't know why, but most people say it's better than Ant-Man the Wasp. So yeah, I'm excited to defend Ant-Man the Wasp, but do a defense review. But first, let's talk about my thoughts on Ant-Man, the first film, and why this movie is really good. Now, yeah, this movie was really underrated at the time. The best way to describe Ant Man is that this is basically the Shazam of Ant Man. Yeah, where basically it's a film that's well received, but then it ends up being one of the more forgotten Marvel films, and no one really talks about it. I think it's underappreciated. I used to think it's underrated, but I don't think underrated is the word to describe this. People are actually appreciating this film a lot more now. I mean, they're saying it's some people are saying it's growing on them, and yeah, basically, yeah, this movie is as small of a scale as Shazam is, but it really surprised people, and it does feel like like Marvel's Shazam. Yeah, so that's yeah, it's really lighthearted, and sometimes although I do prefer big scale MCU movies, yeah, big scale MCU movies like MCU movies that are dark, that are epic, that are action packed, that are massive in scale, but it's nice to see the MCU once in a while do something small like this to appeal to kids, to where the parents can be able to allow the kids to watch it, and kids can be able to tolerate it. And yeah, so yeah, this is a fun little film though. I think it's really good, and this movie definitely deserves more love. Um, yeah, and I'm personally not a fan of lighthearted tones in general, especially animated movies where usually lighthearted tone would result in goofy babyish humor that I can't stand, like toilet humor, those pop culture reference like that. Let me just say right now, Ant Man is how you do a lighthearted film. Take notes animation. This is how you do it. I mean, I'm talking about studios like Illumination, Sony Pictures Animation, Blue Sky, even though they're dead. Yeah, those anime films. Yeah. Um, I really enjoy this film for the lightheartedness. I love that this is a heist film, which shows that the MCU can tackle different genres. I mean, that's what Phase 2 is. And Phase 2 is an experimental phase that introduces new heroes, just like Phase 4. I mean, I prefer Phase 4 over Phase 2, but I like where they went with Phase 2. I mean, they went with films like The Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron, but then they do experimental films like this in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's kind of a shame that Phase Two fell short. As there were like six movies, but that's okay. I mean, even Phase One had six movies. But yeah, for a movie that was so experimental, like Guardians of the Galaxy with space opera, Ant-Man does a really good job. Like as a heist film, and as a heist film, I gotta say this might be one of the best heist films. I'm not sure if I would call this the best heist film, but as a heist film, I mean, I love it so much. I mean, this movie is actually perfect when it comes to the heist. I mean, Scott is actually really smart, and I love that he actually acknowledges that he's not a criminal and he's just a burglar trying to steal his life back when he felt broken and stuff, when he felt broke. I think Scott might be one of the best developed characters in MCU. Maybe they're better developed characters. I mean, the MCU, like for the most part, does a really good job in developing characters, and Scott is no exception. I mean, I love him, like for being like on the ground and stuff. I mean, his relationship with Cassie is a highlight, and I'll get to Cassie in a little bit. But I love Scott's development. I can totally see where he's coming from, and you really feel bad for Scott. You really root for him to get his life back when everyone hates him. Now, yes, I mean, I wonder how he was a criminal back then, but he now he just wants to steal his life back, which is what he's doing getting out of jail. He got fired by Baskin Robbins, and yeah, and he just wants a normal life again, and he's pushed aside because his wife now has is dating her ex boyfriend, the cop guy. What's his name again? Oh yeah, Paxton. Yeah, and yeah, so really feel bad. Cassie's my favorite character in these Ant Man films. I mean, I just love her supporting Scott all the way. She's definitely the best character in this film. Not sure if she's the best character in Ant Man the Wasp because she does have competition with a certain character. I'll talk about that more in the review. But I mean, you gotta love Cassie, like how she really supports Scott where no one else. I mean it's really nice to have at least one person support you when everyone else won't. I mean, I just love Cassie. She's just charming and she's adorable as well. Although, yeah, she gets better from there, especially in Quantum Mania. I can't wait to see Cassie in Quantum Mania. Um, and yes, although yes, you can say that argue that oh she's just a kid, so she wouldn't know that Scott's a criminal, a bad guy. But she was actually worried about Scott at one point. You probably saw that scene. She was worried for Scott that Scott might be a bad guy, and which is why he doesn't come visit Cassie. But yeah, Luis is also another standout, especially when it comes to him telling stories. Like telling stories in a very fast and comedic way. I mean, the audience really loves that, and so much so that he even did it again in the second film. I mean, I just love Luis with his comedic timing and yeah, Hank Pym and Hope are really good characters as well. Are good characters as well. Also going back to Luis, just to mention one thing. In the end of this movie, there's actually a chick, this hot girl that pretty much Luis talks about that tries to get information about a hero, and then basically she talks to Stanley, and then basically Falcon asks her, "Have you seen that guy with wings like that?" Yeah, I wish she was a more prominent MCU character. She would have definitely made one of my favorite MCU characters. I just love her. And yeah, now yeah, the casting in this movie is absolutely perfect. I mean, Paul Rudd is one of the best casting choices as Scott Lang. I mean, you really see him as Scott Lang. I mean, you can tell that he is the perfect choice of Scott Lang, and I don't know how anyone can replace him. Of Michael Pena's Luis again. No one will ever no one will ever recapture the comedic tone that Luis has. And Michael Douglas is perfect as Hank Film. Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne as aka the Wasp. Great choice. Yeah, so many good choices. There's one bad casting choice, but I'll get to that in a bit. And um, yeah, the action scenes are absolutely creative as well, especially the fan battle. Yes, there are like fight scenes in the film. Two of the fight scenes are both in the third act, just separated. I mean, you got the first action scene, which is Scott versus the Falcon. And versus the Falcon, which is probably my personal favorite scene in the film. I just love that we actually got an Avengers show up in this, and I've heard people say that this scene is unnecessary, that they criticize the scene, but let me defend it. The reason why Scott went to the Avengers headquarters is to steal particles for Hank, and then it's just and then he was just caught by Falcon. Falcon was there to be an obstacle for Scott, and to show that Scott's actions can have consequences. But he did eventually steal it. But he got scolded by Hank for doing something irresponsible. Yeah, but that fight with Falcon really made me smile. Like it really put a smile on my face, and I was laughing all the way through. That was like I just love it. And then you got the fight scene at the lab at the and then you got the fight scene at the Pimtech Corp, the headquarters or whatever you call it, and then that creative battle with in Cassie's room, where Ant-Man and Yellow Jacket were basically running around the train that Cassie's train and Lego set. Like it was hilarious. And also I love that scene where Scott went inside the what looked like the quantum realm, but it isn't really the quantum realm. It was like kind of hinting what's to come in these future Ant-Man films. Like it was hinting the quantum realm, like basically where he went inside the. I don't think it was the quantum realm like what I said. I think it was just mainly a hint. But let me know in the comments if that thing that if Scott really went inside a quantum realm in this film. But that was just my point of view. And then now we get to the flaws. Yes, this movie does have flaws. Where do I start with this? Of course, well, I think it's pretty obvious that we can agree that the villain is garbage. I mean, no one likes Darren Cross, and there's a reason why, because he's terrible. Earlier, I said that there was one bad casting choice. That was it. Yeah, I mean, maybe he was a good choice for the villain, but his acting was just ridiculous and cringy. I mean, Darren Cross, he is one of the worst Ant-Man villains. And say what you want about Ghost, but at least she had a motivation that made sense. Like Ghost in Ant-Man the Wasp. I mean, I think she is one of the most overly hated MCU villains, but Darren Cross, his motivation made no sense whatsoever. Basically, he just steals Pim's tech. Yeah, he steals Pim's tech and like Pim's work and makes it his own, and even fires Hank Pym from I mean, he even kicks Pym out from his own company. And he tries to steal it because he's jealous about Hank pushing him aside. Like what? Like, I mean, wow. Now, yes, I mean, wow. Even Bellwether had that better motivation, and yes, people. I think Darren and Bellwether from Zootopia have similar motivation, but even Bellwether did it better. In my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone who likes him. I mean, I will admit I like Yellow Jacket. I think he's cool, and I think he's really cool, especially his side of Ant Man. I like it, and I love the suit, but it's Darren Cross who's the problem. I mean, there's so many cringe scenes from him, like when he laughs at maniac. Oh, but I don't know how you pronounce the word, but he laughs like a maniac. Basically, that scene where Scott was about to grab the Yellow Jacket suit, but he gets caught by Darren, and then Darren just looks at him like laughing evilly. Wow, that scene made me cringe. Wow, and also also like in his Yellow Jacket suit, like whenever he gets hit, whenever like he gets electrocuted and gets hit and like something electrocutes him, he screams like a predator, like as in the predator from the Predator movies. I mean, every time he gets electric shot. I mean, wow, what was that? I mean, did Marvel just steal that sound effect from Predator movies and just slapped it in this film? That's what it sounded like. Or maybe it's really Corey Stroll screaming, but it's just cringe inducing. Like, wow. Um, Also, besides the villain, I do have some other nitpicks as well. I do think some of the humor is a little outdated. I mean, anything with Luis is really funny. There's some really funny scenes I really laughed at, but there were some jokes that I knew that were supposed to be funny, but I just didn't really find myself laughing because some of the jokes really did get old on rewatch as that time came by. And yeah, also I feel like the reason as to why Hank Pym gave Scott the Ant-Man suit would have been explained better. Yes, it did make sense that wanted Scott to wear his suit out of all people because he saw himself in Scott, like he could like relate to Scott. But the problem is that they didn't really explain it before, so Lots would be like, why is he picking Scott? Like, why is he look spying on Scott? Like, why does he think Scott is special among everyone else? But then it was explained by Darren Cross in a very exposition way, and yeah, it was not very good in my opinion. But those are just nitpicks. I think the real flaws, uh, Darren Cross, but those things, yeah, they're also criticisms. So overall, Ant Man is still a really great film that still holds up to this day. Yeah, this movie is just a ton of fun, and this movie is really harmless fun, and it's a great film. Um, so yeah, yes, it does have flaws, but it's very charming. It's fun. It's great, and yeah. So with that said, I'm gonna give Ant Man an 8 out of 10. Would have given this a 7 out of 10. It came close to getting a 7. I think this is one of the weakest 8 out of 10 movies that would have gotten a 7. It's just an 8 out of 10 because it's just really great and could have had more flaws to make it a 7. So yeah, that's all for my review of Ant Man. What is your opinion on the movie? Do you agree with me that this is a great fun movie, or do you not care about this movie like some people do? Comment down below, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned for my next part of the Ant Man review tomorrow, where I make a defense review of the underrated Ant Man and the Wasp. So yeah, um, bye guys.